Welcome to this next episode of the Beloved Miracles Couples Project. Today we are reaching from Norway to Cheney, Washington, USA. Hi, Sandy.
Hi there. How is everyone?
Doing really well. We're building a long bridge here, about a 9-hour time zone difference bridge. Sandy got up early. Let me do a brief introduction of you, Sandy. Sandy,
Wonderful.
Business strategist for professional women looking to transform their career and financial status, helping the overwhelmed and tired to find freedom to express who they are and build upon their potential, helping to make time for themselves again and get out of the rat race. Sandy, as a career mother and with over 35 years business experience, has developed a passion-based business with a vision to inspire others with a way to give meaning and purpose to who they are again. So Sandy, where does your story begin?
Oh, wow. My story, it's been such a wonderful journey, and I have grown so much that sometimes when you think about where your journey started, it takes you back and you think, oh, why didn't I start this earlier? Because I was, a mother, and that's all I really wanted to do in life. I wanted to be a mom. I wanted to be married. I wanted to have the life, because when I grew up, there wasn't any internet. There wasn't any, a lot of this stuff that we do nowadays. And so I wanted to be that mom, and I got to be that mom. But in order to support the mom and the kids and everything, I also wanted a career. So, you do the normal things. You go to college, you get a good education, you get a good job, and you have a family. Well, as time went on, I worked to the top of the ladder, and I'm looking around going, there's no more way up unless I either move to another job or do this. Well, at this point in time, my kids have grown. They're out of the house. I'm looking at retirement, and who wants to start over in another job? You have to start over with your paycheck cut, your vacation cut, everything. And it's like, that's not where I want to go. I'm up here. I don't want to start back down at the bottom again. So I just started getting really frustrated. I knew I had more potential to give to everybody. I knew that I had more to give, and I had to go and find something else to do. So I thought, well, maybe if I had a little more money, I could do this or that or whatnot. So I looked online. Well, online led me to many different things. I've been through the MLMs, the Mary Kay, the, New Skin, all the things that you see mothers doing, from, getting together and having parties and stuff. But that just wasn't me. I wanted to stay home. I wanted to do something for myself. So that's when I found this passion-based business, which is online. It's network marketing, yet it's building on who you are. You're not just serving other companies, you're serving yourself. And when you find yourself, you can grow so much more. So I dove in. I says, okay, this is what I want to do, and this is where I'm going to go. But the first thing is I didn't know who I was anymore. I had thrown so much more into a company, into my kids, into my family, that I didn't know what I liked. And when I came back and figured out through my journey of who I was, I started blogging, I started growing, I wrote a book about the forgotten woman, things like that, to show other women that they need to remember who they are. They can't get lost, because eventually you're going to come back to you. It's just you and your husband. You need to grow. You need to grow together. You need to express all the things that we do to each other. Well, as it turned out, once I got really started and stuff, my husband contracted cancer. The evil word. So we've been kind of dealing with that also. But it pushes me more, because now I can have the freedom and I can have the lifestyle that I can help him go through the difficulties, and making the mindset change, and just actually being there, not at the job constantly. You need to have that time freedom back, to give back either to your kids, if you have grandkids, which I don't quite yet, but I'm hoping. So, things like that. So that's kind of where my story's at and where my story's going. And I just want to let other women in these jobs that are frustrated and tired and whatnot. And I don't want them to do what I did, is throw the chair across the room. I want them to be able to get their frustration out and find who they are again and grow. So that's where my message comes from, and that's where my vision comes from, and that's, you know, where my passion base is. You know, everyone can have a passion and they can make money on that passion. They just need to learn how, and I'm here to help them.
Beautiful.
So there's my story.
Yeah, that's and it's an icing on a cake, but there's so much, right? I mean, there's so much that become the ingredients to have such an amazing icing on the cake, right? And the taste of it is not just in that I don't know, like a kid's finger swipe of the icing, right? I mean, it's too shallow, it's too simplistic. Let's see if we can go deeper into those ingredients with this word system. I'm fascinated by how it shows up in our lives, and I heard it, but I didn't hear you use the word. So if I brought this word system, where would you say you began to notice the implementing of a system in what you were doing?
The system, you know, a system basically is something. When you have systems, can come from many different ways. So if you are implementing like either healthcare, you know, you have to have the program set up. And when you have a system of either a blog or a writing program or an exercise program, that's the system that you can use. You know, and when you get a system behind you that will implement all the little things that you do, you know, be able to use the blog and set it out on the internet, use the capture pages and set them out on the internet. You know, the internet is so large, you have to have this system behind you to be able to express what you're doing, to be able to capture people and bring them into your group. You know, you want to capture leads, so you need this, you know, this capture page, but that's part of your system. You need, you know, just a Facebook page. You need a website. You need something out there with a system that will put everything together. You know, you have one place that pulls in this piece and that piece, and no matter what you're selling in the background versus your vision in the front ground, you know, you've got all the different aspects to put together. So does that kind of help you kind of explain more a little about what a system does?
Absolutely. But in your story is what I'm interested in, right? Like the firsthand experience of it. And it sounded like when you began blogging, if I could put together what I just heard, that was really the beginning of implementing a system in your ability to no longer be the forgotten woman. And is that accurate, that the blog was part of implementing a system? And then if it was, what did you express of your story through a system? Like, what were your first blog posts? You know, what did the forgotten woman first have to say through a blogging system?
Oh, I'm so glad you said that, because, you know, my blog was my thing. I started out with the blog, and I asked, well, I said, what do I blog about? And they says, just blog about what you like. Well, that's what made me realize I didn't know what I liked. So the blog, I just started writing. I just started, you know, I'd find something, I'd drive down the street and something would pop out at me, and I'd turn that story into, you know, kind of a business aspect of that object or that thing that I saw, you know, and then it just started churning. And as my blog grew, I started reaching out to people, and I said, oh, I wrote about that. But for me to go back and find it in my blogs, I had to organize my blogs. You know, I had written for over a year, and I couldn't find anything. So I went and I reorganized my blogs. I categorized everything I was doing, and I realized I was writing about the same things. Things were coming the same direction. So when I started doing like a lead magnet and things that you know, pull people in, and a giveaway and different things like that, I realized when I was writing about the same thing, I wanted to put that kind of in, you know, a PDF. Well, my PDF turned out to be 160 pages. So I just started saying, well, this is more like a book. So I had to rewrite it again, because books are written differently than blogs. So I tweaked it, and you know, just involved myself into this. And I got a book, and it's an awesome book. It's my first book. I'm very proud of it. It's called the Finding the Forgotten Woman. And if you want to go on Amazon and look for it, it's a great book, and it it just basically delves into who you are. And it turns into your avatar, because your avatar is a reflection of yourself. And if you don't know yourself, it's really hard to know a target audience. It's really hard to know where you're going and what you're doing, and then learning how to take that and reach out to different people and to grow from there. And then just turning a business around and turning aspects around, and letting people know that they can't do it alone. They need the mentors. They need people to contact, and the world is a people needing place. And people think that, oh no, I can do it by myself. Yeah, I stood up. I've done a lot of companies, or worked at a lot of places where I am the one person office, and I even worked for myself for a little longer before that. But this business is so much different than that. This business is something that has pulled me out, and it's just been amazing. So the system of growing, and the system of finding your niche and finding your passion can't just be, picking up knitting and saying, oh, I like to knit, because I like to crochet, but that's not the true me. And the journey of me finding the true me has just been amazing. So there, does that help?
Can we go another layer of the cake deeper? Are you willing to do that?
Sure.
The next question, which comes after what you've just shared, is what else changed? I hear that a woman found expression through a blog, began to be able to put together those blogging puzzle pieces toward a larger puzzle, which was the book. And I look forward to looking into that. What else did it change for you now that you were beginning to implement a system? And I guess, reflecting again back on a blogging system, it's probably a good place to enter into the question I'm asking you. What else began to change for you and in life around you?
As I was getting into it more and more, I was going to say, I guess the mindset. The mindset has been a big key to that, because a mindset will open you up. A mindset will help you stand up strong. Excuse me. And my jar has grown, and I've started out with Sandy's jar, and it's just kind of evolved. And my blog page or Facebook page is basically Strong Life, or Strong Voice for Strong Life, because I have found that I have a strong voice. And when you stop looking at how everybody else looks at you and start reflecting on who you are, you see things in a different light. You grow, and you be able to stand up strong, and you're able to come out on interviews. And for me to do podcasts with people, I can talk to people so much more and so much easier. And my listening skills have increased amazingly because I'm so more open. I read a couple books, and the book that stands out the most to me is The Inner Voice by Russ Whitney, because it pulls you back and makes you sit, and it kind of like meditation, it opens your mind, and your subconscious starts to interact with your conscious level. And when you can get the two of them to talk to each other, then you can, really resonate with how you want to be presented. And that's where your strong voice comes down. Your strong voice comes through. And when you can truly find that connection and learn how to help it grow, then things just start to happen. Your communication with other people to get your system working, your just even around you in your lifestyle, you start to feel the negativity, and you back away from it, because you can feel those points, and because you're always happy. You're happy with this, and you're happy with this, and things don't bother you as much. Things start to just You just kind of look at it and say, well, it's okay. It's fine. You just kind of, and then when you turn that around, other things around you turn around and you get so much happier in what you do. So how deep did that go?
Well, I think we're getting a clean slice of cake, right? Sometimes you cut a cake and I don't know, the crust is one of those crusts that just won't surrender from the bottom of the pie pan or the cake pan. I think we got a clean cut on that one. That was really nice. Thank you for sharing that. The next question you kind of led into, you hinted at Sandy's jar. So this is a current project of yours currently, right? And will you say more about Sandy's jar?
Well, Sandy's jar kind of started in the beginning because I needed a business name. And my husband and I kind of looked together and we thought, oh dear, what could a business name be? And we thought, well, a business like this will be a growing aspect. It'll be something that we can throw, extra money into to do the extra little things in life that we wanted to do, travel and go places and do a whole bunch of things in life. So we looked in the kitchen and there was a cookie jar in the corner. And I through my travels, I've heard a lot of different stories. You can have a cookie jar, you can have a mason jar at wedding ceremonies. Yeah, I hear the mason jar. And I thought, okay, so the cookie jar. Well, cookie jar was kind of long, so I changed it to Sandy's jar. And from there, it's grown into my blog is the secret jar of success, because you never know what kind of ideas and inspiration and motivation that you can pull out of this jar. And they have jar of success is also my podcast. So I've just kind of kept that jar, because that jar symbolizes a lot of things. A lot of people have their jar of life and they throw everything in there, but as life goes on, the lid gets screwed on really, really, really tight. Well, what that does is not only leave on the things that you want to hold on to tight, but it also leaves the struggles and the grief and everything else inside of there too. So what I'm doing is I'm helping them poke the holes in the top to let out the things you don't want and keep in the things that you do. So that's where the Sandy's jar and the jar of vision and this jar of success comes from, because you want to pull in the money, you want to pull in the success, you want to pull in all of that, but you don't want to keep in the struggles. So don't let your jar lid get screwed on too tight. You want to keep the things, yet you also want to expand. So my jar is now overflowing and there's no way I could get the lid on there. So, but it's all good things. I don't let the bad things come in anymore. It's so full of the good and the whatnot, that I don't have room for the bad stuff and the negativity. So that's where the jar came from.
Nice. Very nice. So now advice, as we kind of come full circle here. What advice would you have from your rich experience toward another couple choosing to build together?
It's so important that you have a team, and your first team is your intermediate family. So your spouse needs to be on board with what you're doing, because that is the biggest struggle that I see a lot of people fail at, because the other side doesn't understand what you're doing. And it's hard for you to take the time and really dive into something like this. And the other one thinks that you're ignoring them, or, you're taking time away from them. And if they don't understand what you're doing, then that makes it all that much more difficult. So to have a couple and have, two people that are, intertwined in a marriage or a partnership, they need to know and work together in order to give it the time to make it work. Because it's not a quick rich anything. The quick rich schemes out there are schemes. They, an internet business or a business of your own takes time to develop. Once you get it developed, yes, you can work 3-4 hours a day. But in order to get it started, it takes hard work, and you have to have dedication. You have to have this. And it's so much better to do it as a couple, because then you could draw off of each other. You can feed off of each other. You're there to support each other. So you need to have your other half understand what you're doing. They don't have to do everything with you, especially with my husband. He's get tired a lot, so I do a lot of it myself, but he still understands and he still supports me and he still is in it. He still knows what I'm doing. So, all of this kind of stuff, couples are so important. You have to be able to understand what the other one is doing.
Yes, yes, yes. I mean, you've just touched on it for me, right? It's just a real solid gold nugget, what you just identified there. Let's see if I can actually put more of those like jewelry store fancy lights that make something look like amazing. Yeah. So I can shine that on what you've just shared. It's this idea that, well, clearly it's around communication. So definitely that's the word, but like, where does it begin? And I think in what you've shared from the beginning to now, this depth of it, the beginning of the communication really is with ourselves, isn't it, Sandy? It's enough self-awareness as you identified the need to more so either communicate with yourself, but that leads to the next communication, which is to share, right? Share some message of who we are, so we are not forgotten. And then as a team or as a unit family, as you mentioned, it's similar, isn't it? It's amazing to me as I listen to you how we often think we're going to go out in the world, in business, at our job, or in our own firm, and we're going to communicate successfully there, when in our own home, right? In our closest, most dear relationships, the communication might not be there yet.
Yes. And then it's so important. I mean, just in a marriage, I mean, you have to learn how to communicate with each other. We've gone through a few struggles in our 30 some years of marriage. You have to communicate. You have to be on the same level, or all you have is a nitpick, or you don't understand each other. So yes, you have to have that communication, in marriage and in your businesses at home. You can't have frustration, because then you just pull that into your mind and your mindset goes in the negative way. You have to have everything positive. So yes, I love communication. It's a key.
And a podcast. I mean, this is just a perfect natural expression for the progression that you've gone through to now be a media company and inviting others to join you, right? To add their story to your story and essentially broadcast that out in a way that others can tune in and plug into what you're doing, Sandy. Thank you so much for what you've shared. The words come to mind: together we overcome. Yes, you described that between your husband and you encourage that in others as well, that our ability with ourselves together, and then in union, in family, strength of relationship and communication with another, we have a chance, don't we, to communicate a message far and wide to inspire others to not be forgotten either. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. It's been fun.
Well, for now then, we'll say bye-bye from Norway.
Yes, goodbye.